Hello and welcome to the Whoniverse and to a brand new video. Now Doctor Who is a show that has lasted the test of time, with the show nearing nearly 60 years worth of content since its first episode in 1963. And I honestly think that its success is mainly down to many qualities, but the series has but one that stands out. And at the moment, that's accessibility. The Time Lord Victorious multimedia project shares a huge narrative across every form of media you can imagine, from books to audios, video games and figurines to comics. Yep, this adventure may not be broadcast on our TV screens, but is going to be available everywhere else. So recently, listings popped up on the Forbidden Planet merchandise website for the beginnings of a Doctor Who comic series published by Titan Comics for the Time Lord Victorious event. So in this video, I'll be discussing the cover art variants, prices, the plot synopsis, quotes from Titan's editor, theorising on plot points, and where this story could go next. So, the synopsis reads: a thrilling new adventure for the 10th Doctor as played by fan favourite David Tennant, that sees the shocking return of his deadliest enemies, the Daleks. But things aren't what they seem, time is all wrong, and something is coming that terrifies even the Daleks. Right, so this description doesn't give much away, but maintains the theme seen throughout the other announcements so far, where the universe is in question, with the Doctor potentially playing the villain by mistake as he goes too far. The Daleks frightened of the Time Lord, like in the 8th Doctor trilogy of audios, or are the squids from Skaro wetting their casing over something more deadly? Perhaps the cause of death itself. So far, the established villain, other than the Doctor's actions that spiral the time traveller out of control, are a race called the Katara. Creatures who spread throughout the cosmos, dispensing mortality. They judge each and every species into creates allotted time to live. The result of the Doctor's actions against this species, who may not be villains it's worth saying, lead to a universe of change. However, if this is the Doctor fighting a whole new time war, then there are spine-chilling evils we haven't seen from previous battles, with threats like the Skaro degradations, the hordes of travesties, the Nightmare Child, and the could-have-been king with his army of meanwhiles and never-weres. If the Daleks are afraid, then the scale of this threat must be colossal, and the adventure a true spectacle to read, perhaps fighting a threat never seen before. Jake Devine, editor of Titan's Doctor Who range, gave an insight into the story I wasn't expecting by saying, Titan's comic story is quite unique as it features the 10th Doctor as seen in the recent 13th Doctor comic series, so he's not reached his so-called victory over time yet, but what has been fun to explore is the Doctor getting a glimpse of what's to come and foreshadowing his own dark turn. So it sounds like this story, at least, penned by author Jodie Hauser, with art by Roberta Ingranata, and coloured by Enrica Erin Angioli, will see the 10th Doctor after his adventures with Jodie Whittaker's version of the iconic Time Lord, placing this story just after Series 3 episode Blink, or around that era. Looking at the 13th Doctor range, which is an absolute winner by the way, I'd recommend it completely. The last issue ended with a great cliffhanger, spoilers if you're yet to read it. Ready? Right, so as the 13th Doctor and 10th Doctor parts ways, the Doc and her fam return to Earth to find it in ruin, London crumbling with a sea of crimson and lightning filling the sky. The next time shows Tennant's Time Lord once more teaming up with Whittaker to fight an occupation of Sea Devils. However, their synopsis implies that not everything is as it seems. Is this the beginning of the Time Lord Victorious arc, with the actions of the 10th Doctor setting universal change in motion, and not for the better despite his intentions? With that issue due for a release in July, we'll have to wait to see if it's a link in the chain. Meanwhile, the Time Lord Victorious comic is the first of two oversized issues kicking off the BBC's highly anticipated multi-platform Doctor Who epic, and there are 5 covers to choose from, each priced at £5.40 each. Due for release in September, so let's have a look at each of these covers, which are truly stunning to look at. Firstly, we have a cover which is the very first piece of promotional artwork we were shown for the project as a whole, crafted by Lee Binding with 3D elements like the Daleks created by Dave Ladkin and the bow ships created by Anthony Lamb. You can see a full breakdown of this piece in my What We Know video I released a while back, there's a link for it in the description. The next variation is this cover by Priscilla Petrates, which features the 10th Doctor falling far as this interesting Dalek variant rises. Now I love new Dalek designs, but this one really calls back to an underused classic. In January 1965, the second Dalek television serial reached its conclusion, and at the same time, the comic book TV Century 21 delved into the backstory of the popular aliens. The comic strip Genesis of Evil told the tale of how the humanoid Dalek scientist Yarv Elling produced a war machine to help in his battle against the Fouls. Following a nuclear accident, the machines were used as a shelter for the mutated remains of the Dalek people, who described themselves as having the shocking appearance of being pure brains, something showcased with the Psyche Dalek. One of them elected himself as the new Dalek Emperor and ordered a special casing made of Phidol gold, quartz and Achilles flower sap. It had a huge spherical head adorned with a normal eye stalk and rings of lights around the rear. The iconic design was created by artist Richard Jennings, and when Ron Turner took over the comic strip, he modified the design slightly. It's a great looking design, and to have it brought into the modern day comics is incredible. This version of the design has been created by Dave Ladkin in an attempt to make the Restoration Empire consistent. The cover variant showing the Doctor falling has him surrounded by Dalek ooze and almost merging with the Dalek mutant, perhaps reinforcing the idea the Doctor could make a good Dalek, and that they bring out the worst in him, or it's just an awesome cover. Henry Prezatio presents the next cover, which showcases the Daleks taking centre stage, with some great looking variants surrounded by a shower of yellow lightning. It's a great looking cover, and I'm so curious to see what these new Daleks can do. The final cover is again brilliant, with Andy Tong lending his talents to contrasting to the last cover with its realism to this cover, which is cartoonish and stylised almost like a caricature, exaggerating elements, the design of every character. It really stands out, and I love the use of perspective within this piece. Now, we don't know much more about the Titans comic range so far, but I can't wait to see how it all ties together with the rest of the Time Lord Victorious patchwork. What do you think of the comics from what we know? If you haven't checked out the Titan Comics range so far, I would highly recommend it. Seriously, it's great. There's so many stories, and it really expands on a lot of characters from the Whoniverse. With all that said, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy this video, remember to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and if you want to experience some bonus rewards, then be sure to check out my Patreon page, like Time Lord tier supporter Stefan Pastran, who gets to see a section of my videos 24 hours early before anyone else, receives a shout out like this one I've just given him, and a brand new downloadable poster every month. If they sound like things you'd be interested in, then check out my Patreon page and help the channel grow. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.